Hello everyone, this is a tutorial for the Symphony audition excerpt for HYS video auditions, and I will kind of talk through the excerpt at the beginning, and then at the end I will do a run through of the whole excerpt. So basically, yeah, this piece is a Strauss tone poem, which is basically, you know, it's not a full symphony, so it's just kind of one movement thing, and this one is based off of so Till Eulenspiegel is a German peasant folk hero, and so it's based off of his pranks that he plays. So even though this is a very, very difficult excerpt for sure, technically, but it has to sound kind of playful, mischievous through all of this. So it's almost like kind of laughter, like especially these figures. Like for example, well, I guess there's no measure numbers. The second line, the second bar. Let's see the bowing. So it's like a kind of laughing, almost like you know, making fun of someone. So kind of throughout, you want to keep this character even when it's very, very technically difficult. The other thing is you want to make sure you know all these terms in German at the beginning. So even though they're somewhat common German terms, but they're not as common as like Italian terms that we see a lot of times written in music. So this volles Zeitmaß, sorry, means full tempo. So basically fast, and then kind of similar, sehr lebhaft is very lively. So basically it's kind of referring to this very fast tempo that we have. 104, if, you know, I would say the tempo is probably maybe the last priority. If you need to play slightly under, I think it's better to be clean, in tune, and, you know, clear on the rhythm and the intonation, rather than sacrifice that because of the tempo. So kind of, yeah, one thing that you can do to kind of bring out this mischievous character is kind of through all these slurs, I would kind of lead through them. So it's almost like, you know, maybe imagine some, you know, the jokes are like taking a leap or something, or, you know, some sort of motion. So how you're going to do that is with the bow speed. So like the very beginning, you know, you start this run kind of slower bow speed at the frog, and then as you go through the tip, you know, then you use faster and faster bow speed. And then I broke this bowing up. I do an up bow on the downbeat of 30. So depending what your private teacher tells you to do, but I thought that kind of made the crescendo come out. So another thing that will really help in learning this excerpt is just on all these runs, making sure you know exactly where the whole steps and half steps are. So I would take them super slowly, under tempo, and just really figure everything out. Like all of this, for example, the measure after big number 30. So, you know, so we have 2 whole steps at the beginning, and then half steps, G sharp A sharp B, C, then all half steps from that point on. So just kind of taking the time, be very conscious, make sure you don't miss some of them, because there's a lot of chromatic runs, but some are whole steps, some are half steps. Okay, one other thing to consider is when you get to this section where it's the 1, 2, 3, the 4th line down, the fortissimo, the second bar of the 4th line down, even though you have dots on these notes, I would play it pretty much on the string, because in the tempo, I think it will sound off. So don't worry so much about like trying to bounce all this. In the tempo, I think it will sound off, you know, kind of just basically on the string, and it will still come through. Let's see, other things to consider. Oh yeah, for me, I think some of the hardest spots are these kind of big shifts, like for example, 1, 2, 3, the 3rd line down, halfway through that bar, the fortissimo, going to that A, kind of finding that note. So I would practice, you know, whatever finger you're doing on the run, go from there and isolate this, going from that E, and then find that A. So kind of do that a bunch in a row. And then also that same spot, watch out for the unequal fifths. F natural to B natural, right? So it's going to be, you don't want to try to hop the second finger, for example, back and forth. You know, I would play 4, 2, then third finger right next to the second. And then the other part that's very similar, luckily you actually have a little bit more time to get there, is after 31. You have to go all the way up to the C. So the same thing, you can practice from that C, the lower octave that you have right before 31, and just do a bunch of times C, and then finding this really high C. Yeah, so it may take a few times. And start to note, like for example, that time I was high. So if you start to notice your tendencies, then you know the next time aim a little bit lower. When you do try to line up that note, also see if you can already have the fifth in place. So from the F to the, the A to the D. So you don't want to try to be hopping the second finger at that time. You want to kind of already have it there, da-da-dum, kind of already in position. So you don't have to actually move the fingers during the slur. Yeah, I think just the biggest help to learning this excerpt is just under tempo with the metronome, very slow, and then just slowly kind of bump the tempo up every day. As you get closer to the audition, then you can kind of get closer and closer to the goal tempo of 104. I would also suggest just recording yourself almost every day leading up to the audition, starting early as far as that kind of practice. I think it's very helpful to listen back to yourself, to notice all these things that maybe you don't notice when you're just, when you're just practicing. It's easy to miss a lot of things that then when you actually listen back in a recording, it's suddenly clear. Okay, this is what I need to fix. And you can maybe take notes, you can get a practice journal is sometimes helpful, preparing, listen back and maybe, write down things you notice, and then the next day do the same thing, write down things you notice to fix the next time. So this kind of preparation I think is very helpful, especially in a video audition where you actually have, on the one hand it's nice because you have complete control over what you're handing over. On the other hand, you don't want to make yourself crazy over recording, trying to get it perfect. So what I would suggest is, prepare really, really well before the audition, play it for other people, play it for your teacher, obviously, maybe even other friends or other teachers, just to get one, if you check with your teacher beforehand and you want to just get another set of ears, sometimes that's good to do before an audition. Sorry, my phone died as I was finishing up this video, but basically I was just, to close out, I was saying, make sure you get feedback from at least a few people, take notes, and then when it does get time to record, the week or so, maybe 2 weeks before, you can start doing some takes, and I would give yourself a time frame, it can be very frustrating recording if you just say, okay, I'm just going to record it until it's perfect, and especially something technically difficult like this. What you can do is give yourself like blocks of time, I would say no more than 2 hours at the most in one day as far as recording. And then, see if you can get a couple takes that you feel at least comfortable with, that you feel like is a good representation of your playing. And maybe choose between around 5 takes. Once you have 5, 3 to 5 that you feel really comfortable with, and then you can maybe send to your teacher, maybe ask for their opinion on which one you think is the best showcase of I'm playing. But I think that's a less frustrating way to record, is to maybe set aside some time, at least, don't wait till the night before, find a time when you have plenty of time where there's nothing else stressful going on. Give yourself a 2-hour block of time here, and then maybe the next day another 2-hour block, and maybe do this for a few days in a row leading up to the audition. So then you have a set of takes that you feel comfortable with. But that's much better than just be like, start your morning Saturday and say, you know, I'm just gonna record till I get this perfect, then that can be very frustrating, especially for a piece like this. I would say that's very technically challenging. Okay, so hopefully this helped. And like I said, at the end of this video, I will kind of give a run through of the whole excerpt. Thank you and happy practicing.